Kwa simu yako ya mkononi, ingia kwenye M-Pesa. Elekea kwa Paybill, weka nambari 636395. Kwa account name, andika neno Look. Kisha kwa amount, weka shilingi 99 au 99 shillings. Kwa M-Pesa Paybill, weka nambari 636395. Account name, andika Look. Amount, weka shilingi 99 au 99 bob peke yake. Kumbuka, unavyocheza mara nyingi ndivyo unavyoongeza nafasi zako za kuwa mshindi. Unasubiri nini? Badilisha maisha yako leo na kwa chua chapa. Mchezo huu umeidhinishwa na BCLB na ambao hawajafikisha miaka 18 hawajaruhusiwa kucheza. Cheza kwa kuwajibika.
Get a chance to wake up as a tourist as you view Mount Kenya every day by buying a plot of land at Wema Gardens, Naru Moru. At only 400 meters off tarmac, this is the right place to build your dream home, cottages or holiday homes. You can also buy this property to give to your children as a special inheritance. Water and electricity are in the vicinity, while neighbors are already building their homes. These plots are specially ready for you with title deeds scheduled to be out in 6 months. Buy a 50 by 100 plot of land at Wema Gardens for only 399,000 Kenya shillings. You can also pay for your plot through our friendly 1-year installments plan.
They're inspiring possibility.
Good evening, you're watching Lookup TV. My name is Louis. It's time for the news.
The news headlines in association with
They're inspiring possibility.
We declare the election of the first respondent as president-elect to be varied under Article 143 of the Constitution.
Tonight on Lookup News, 7 judges deliver a landmark judgment that William Ruto was duly elected president.
We are not persuaded.
Supreme Court thwarts all the 9 prayers filed by Raila to annul Ruto's win.
Nilikuwa nimefunga siku 7 ili president wetu Ruto ashinde kwa sababu ni mwaminifu wa Mungu. Aliguza mama mboga, akaguza bodaboda, akaguza mtu wa salon, kinyozi.
Celebrations rocked several parts of the country following the Supreme Court validation of Ruto as president-elect. And Raila Odinga vehemently opposes the Supreme Court verdict as Ruto holds a key event in his current home to mark a new beginning.
Yippee! Kamata floating at 349K. Oh yes, for only 349,000 Kenyan shillings, you become a plot owner at the Great Oasis Gardens, Nanyuki. The Great Oasis Gardens, Nanyuki is located along the Nanyuki-Rumuruti Road, only 11 minutes from the Cedar Mall and right opposite Mount Kenya Wildlife Estate. This is the best place to establish the getaway home that you have always dreamt about. For every 349,000 that you deposit or pay as installment towards any of Optiven's plot of land, you get 10K cash back instantly. Jaza basi twende Nanyuki. Bigger is indeed better.
Today, indeed a special day for the country. It has been a day that has marked celebrations for some. It has been a day that has been validation for some. It has been a day where we get to the close of this entire voting process, where you took part and exercised your democratic right, and these are the results of what happened after you voted. Of course, the story didn't end on the 9th. It ends today when we look at the judging and the ruling by the Supreme Court. From this, there is no appeal. There is no other way to contest this decision. This is what the country has to accept, and we're going to tell you exactly how we got to this spot. Like I said, validation, celebration, and concession. Let's start by listening to President Uhuru Kenyatta.
Fellow Kenyans, on the 9th of August of 2022, Kenyans participated in an election that ushered in new leaders at all levels of our governance realm. Following a dispute in the presidential election, a petition was filed in our Supreme Court for determination of validity of the results, and the Supreme Court has today pronounced itself on this matter. When I was sworn in as your president, I made a pledge to the country, a pledge to uphold the rule of law and the decisions made by the judiciary on all matters appertaining to our governance. Today, the Supreme Court made a ruling on the presidential dispute, upholding the results announced by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission on the 15th of August, 2022. And in keeping to the pledge that I made to uphold the rule of law when I took the oath of office, I commit to executing the orders of this court to the letter. The process of handing over is in progress through the Assumption of Office Committee, which actually has already begun its work as of August 10th, 2022. And indeed, it is my intention to oversee a smooth transition to the next administration, and all the necessary orders to facilitate this process have already been issued.
A message by President Uhuru Kenyatta. And how did we get there? This was after the Supreme Court determined today that President-elect William Ruto attained 50+1 votes as stipulated in the Constitution. Chief Justice Martha Koome stated that the court was satisfied with the IEBC numbers, saying that petitioners Raila Odinga and Martha Karua failed to produce enough evidence of the contrary.
It all began at the Supreme Court when the 7 judges of the Apex Court sat on the bench.
And E008 of 2022.
The Chief Justice Martha Koome declared that the President-elect William Ruto attained the 50+1 vote threshold as required by the law.
We find that it is, as such, on the basis of the foregoing formula and from the numbers provided by IEBC and the chairperson and the declaration by the chairperson of the President-elect on 15th August 2022, it is our finding that the declared President-elect attained 50%+1 of all the votes cast in accordance with Article 138(4) of the Constitution.
Martha Koome further stated that the court was pleased by the rounding off technique applied by the IEBC Commission to reach out the figures.
We are not persuaded by amicus curiae's brief, that is Law Society, who attempted to persuade us to consider our position on this finding. We reiterate that rejected votes cannot be taken into account when calculating whether a presidential candidate attained 50%+1 of the votes cast in accordance with Article 138(4) of the Constitution.
The petitioners Raila Odinga and Martha Karua disputed the victory of Ruto, basing their evidence on the number of registered voters and the voter turnout, the court stating that Kim's kits were accurate to give the correct number of voters.
IBC and its chairperson disputed the sixth petitioner's claim. They submitted that the declaration of results is based on the number of people identified as having voted on the Kim's kits and not the total persons on the voters' register as arranged. They contended that the final voter turnout, comprising of the voters who were identified through the Kim's kits and those who voted manually, was 64.76% and not 65.4% as arranged by the petitioners.
The Apex Court stated that the petitioners did not provide watertight evidence to show that none of the candidates met 50+1 requirement.
When the evidential burden shifted to IBC and its chairperson, as it does in election cases, they produced video evidence correcting the percentage voter turnout to read 64.6 at the time of the briefing.
Shadrach Kareria, Lookup TV.
The Supreme Court has dismissed claims from Azimio leader Raila Odinga that the technology used in the August election was compromised. In a unanimous decision, the Apex Court ruled IEBC employed the use of technology in total compliance with the law, and the assertions that such was interfered with were not backed by sufficient evidence. Henry Tende walks us through.
Thank you. Madam Chief Justice, if you may allow me.
As the Supreme Court convened to deliver verdict in a presidential election filed by Azimio leader Raila Odinga, one of the key issues before it for determination was whether the technology was compromised or used as prescribed in the law. Raila Odinga legal team maintaining the technology was infiltrated by one Jose Camargo.
This is on the 9th of August, and at the top left-hand corner there is the name of one of the Venezuelans, Jose Camargo. This is the person who decided the president-elect of the country.
But in its sharp-cutting verdict, the Supreme Court has dismissed these allegations, insisting Raila Odinga has not presented any evidence to show that the technology was compromised.
Not persuaded by the allegation that the technology deployed by IEBC failed the standard of Article 86A of the Constitution on integrity, verifiability, security, and transparency.
The Supreme Court also dismissing claims that the named foreigner Jose Camargo gained access to Forms 34As and changed the content therein to alter results in favor of President-elect William Ruto.
No credible evidence was presented to prove that anyone accessed the RTS to intercept, detain, or store Forms 34A temporarily before they were uploaded to the public portal.
In their submissions, Raila Odinga legal team had claimed the results in Forms 34As as contained in the IEBC electronic portal greatly differed with what was in the original physical Forms 34As issued to party agents. These claims, however, were dismissed by the court, insisting IEBC had proved beyond doubt that the results tallied.
No admissible evidence was presented to prove the allegation that Forms 34A were fraudulently altered by a group situated in Karen under the direction of persons named in the affidavit and video clip attached to it. As a matter of fact, these two affidavits amount to double hearsay and incapable of being proved at each of the rears.
This decision being supported by the scrutiny of 41 contestant polling stations whose results matched what IEBC had declared.
The registrar's report shows that the original Forms 34A from the contestant polling stations, which were allegedly intercepted, were exactly the same as those on the public portal, and the certified copies that were presented to this court.
In the end, the court arrived at a unanimous decision that IEBC used technology in strict compliance with the law and that there was no infiltration, as alluded to by Raila Odinga's legal team.
The court has pronounced itself on the issue of technology and categorically said, based on evidence placed before it, there was no interference in the results transmission system of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC. This in essence means Dr. William Samoei Ruto was validly elected as the 5th president of the Republic of Kenya. Henry Tende, Lookup TV, Milimani Courts, Nairobi.
The Supreme Court judges delivered judgment on the 9 pertinent issues raised by presidential contender Raila Odinga and his running mate Martha Karua. Part of the issues raised by the petitioner centered around the split between IEBC chairperson Wafula Chebukati and the vice chair Juliana Cherera, who sided with 3 other commissioners including Justice Nyang'aya, Francis Wanderi and Irene Masit. In the ruling, Chief Justice Martha Koome noted that Chebukati did not have superpowers to tally and verify the results, excluding the 4 commissioners.
On Monday, a 7-judge bench ruled that a walkout by 4 IEBC commissioners moments before the declaration of the presidential election results did not put to question the validity of the 2022 general election. In a ruling read out by Chief Justice Martha Koome, the bench concluded that the 4 commissioners, Juliana Cherera, Justice Nyang'aya, Francis Wanderi and Irene Masit, failed to provide evidence that the results declared by IEBC Chairman Wafula Chebukati would have ultimately differed.
That said, we, however, take cognizance of the fact that the 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th respondents, referred to as the 4 commissioners, actively participated in the verification and tallying exercise from the beginning up to and until just before the declaration of the results by the chairperson. They took turns announcing the results as verified and tallied and were present and active during the actual verification and tallying at Bomas. An example is when one of them, Justice Nyang'aya, stood on the podium to announce to the public results and also announced an adjustment that had been occasioned by errors of tabulation.
According to the Koome-led judiciary, the last-minute walkout was inconsequential to the validity of the process, considering the fact that the 4 commissioners were involved in the process from the beginning. Although
they illustrated that the first respondent garnered 7.176141 votes against 14,213,137 total valid votes cast, yielding a percentage of 50.49 to meet the requisite constitutional threshold for a candidate to be declared president-elect.
The Commission's chairman cannot exercise veto power in the verification and declaration of results. The Chief Justice noted that in the 2022 election, the 4 commissioners were sufficiently involved in the verification process,
as they made their political choices pursuant to Article 38 of the Constitution. To do this would be tantamount to subjecting the sovereign will of the Kenyan people to the quorum antics of IEBC. This we cannot do. Clearly, the current dysfunctionality at the Commission impugns the state of its corporate governance, but does not affect the conduct of the 2022 election. In view of the foregoing, we are satisfied that notwithstanding the divisions apparent between the chairperson and the 4 commissioners, IEBC carried out the verification, tallying, and declaration of results in accordance with Article 138(3)(c) and 10 of the Constitution.
The differences that rocked the Commission and played out publicly, according to the Apex Court, did not prevent the results from being declared in accordance with Article 138(3)(c) and 10 of the Kenyan Constitution. Brian Amuai, Lookup TV, Nairobi.
You're watching the news on Lookup TV. We take a short break and we'll come back with more.
Hi there, my name is George Washuri. I am so happy to see you, and today I am here to enumerate, to explain how we package our land investment. We have 5 levels of our property, and we classify these levels as 1 star, 2 stars, 3 star, 4 star, and 5 star. This is what we mean, that if you buy a property that is 1 star with Optiven, one of the things that is evident, the property is cheaper, is below $500,000. And this particular property is basically bare land. We only do subdivision, put the beacons, and then produce titles. The second level, we call it 2 star. This is prime land, whereby we grade the roads, we put a marking fence, do the beacons, and produce titles. The third level, we call it 3 stars. This 3 star is value added plots. We do the malam, we do the water, we do the mesh fence, and there's a caretaker on site. The fourth level is 4 star. 4 star is ready to build development. We do very nice maram roads, we plant the trees, we put the water tower, we also put a caretaker on site, and finally, the 5 star. The 5 star is premier, is the top level, and this one, we do cable roads, we do water management through underground culverts, we do underground power, we do fountain for water, we do beautiful and nice permanent gates, we do perimeter wall, and also do install the CCTV, and the whole property is manned by uniformed security. Some of these properties, these 5-star properties, we do a clubhouse and also construct swimming pool. Thank you once more for trusting Optiven. We value you. We are at Absa Plaza, 14th floor and 15th floor. God bless you.
Inspiring possibilities with Optiven. With Optiven.
Loto iko ground kuimarisha maisha. Na mnajua nini? Mnajua nini? Loto ikikuja ground haiwachi bure. Kila mtu atapata kitu sawa. Acha click leta hiyo pesa. Kwani hauna habari? Loto iko ground na inapeana zawadi kemkem. Wapi ufunguo? Leta ufunguo. Mwanadada, kamata ufunguo wa gari.
Na kulombo tu.
Unangoja nini? Changamka, cheza leta.
Raundi hii Loto iko ground kuimarisha maisha na zawadi chungu nzima. Kuwa miongoni mwa washindi na uimarike leo. Shinda $500,000 guaranteed daily, cash vouchers, unga wa kila siku na zawadi chungu nzima. Kila Jumamosi chomoka na a brand new Pro Box na mega cash kuanzia shilingi $500,000 hadi shilingi $100,000. Ingia kwa M-Pesa, weka paybill number 77700, account name Luke. Cheza na kati ya shilingi 50 na shilingi 1,000 ujiimarishe na Loto.
Changamka, cheza Loto.
Over 18s only. Gaming can be addictive. Play responsibly. This message has been approved by the BCLB.
Welcome back. While upholding the election of William Ruto as Kenya's 5th president, the 7-judge bench, led by Chief Justice Martha Koome, vindicated IEBC chairperson Wafula Chebukati on claims from the first respondent that the postponement of the elections in various parts of the country caused voter apathy and suppression.
Chief Justice Martha Koome, while reading out the judgment on the presidential election petition on behalf of the 7-judge bench, absolved IEBC chairperson Wafula Chebukati from any blame, saying that he was well within his rights in postponing elections in different parts of the country.
We are therefore satisfied that on the basis of the foregoing provision, the third respondent and the requisite power to postpone election in the constituencies, counties and wards in question. As regards this allegation, it has not been shown that by postponing elections in the named electoral units, IEBC acted in bad faith or was influenced by irrelevant factors and considerations. From the explanation tendered, we are satisfied that the postponement was occasioned by a genuine mistake.
Koome further stated that the postponement of elections did not result in voter apathy and suppression in those regions, insisting that if at all it did, then all elective positions were affected by the low voter turnout.
From the evidence on record, however, it appears to us that 2022 general election recorded one of the lowest turnouts since the introduction of multi-party political system some 30 years ago. If there was a low voter turnout, it affected all the 6 categories of candidates, and its explanation, in our view, lies elsewhere, but certainly not a calculated suppression.
According to Raila Odinga's affidavit, the postponement of elections in those areas caused voter suppression, as most of his supporters did not turn out to vote in what he termed as his traditional political bedrock, casting doubts as to why the elections were suspended by the IEBC chairperson. The Chief Justice further added that it was clear that the postponement was caused by a massive mix-up of ballot papers, which could not be rectified on time as it was already too late to procure new ballot papers, calling out the IEBC officers for not being keen enough during the procurement process.
It is common knowledge that IEBC postponed elections for various seats during the general elections of 9th August 2022 due to mix-up of ballot papers in the above-named electoral units. They, however, admitted that they experienced confusion with the printed ballot papers and explained that they only discovered the mix-up on the eve of the election when the ballot papers were being distributed to the polling stations. That as a practice, ballot papers can only be opened on the eve of the election day to avoid any mischief, and that by the time the mix-up was discovered, it was logistically impossible to print and replace the ballot papers in time for the elections.
Ian Kitani, Lookup TV.
Supporters of President-elect William Ruto are celebrating the Supreme Court ruling that upholds his win on the August 9th general election and dismissed the petition by Raila Odinga challenging his win.
These were the scenes at Sugoi in Uasin Gishu County after the Supreme Court ruling that upheld President-elect William Ruto's win. Residents unable to hide their joy as one of them ascends to be the 5th president of Kenya. It was dance and joy in Eldoret, Uasin Gishu County.
William Samoei Ruto, tunashukuru Mungu pamoja, lakini uwe president bila upaguzi juu. Tunakujua na tunakuelewa vizuri. Wewe ni mtu mja Mungu, wewe ni mtu wa kusamehe. Wasamehe wale wote walikukosea ili nchi yetu ipate twende pamoja.
In Bungoma and Kakamega counties, supporters also took to the streets to celebrate the win.
Ndani ya Kenya. Kwa hivyo, Mr. William Ruto, tumekupatia kiboko yetu na big support, Mr. Wetangula na Musalia Mudavadi. Kenya iende mbele na Mr. William Ruto.
And this is how Embu and Meru celebrated. The joy in Kajiado was evident. Supporters from Kisii County were not left behind. From the coast, this is how Kilifi County celebrated. Edwin John Mokora, Lookup TV.
Well, that's the news tonight. We're not done yet, though. We're going to a break. When we come back, you'll join me on the other side.
Badilisha maisha yako na kuachua chapa. Jishindie shilingi 150 pesa taslimu kila siku kupitia vipindi maarufu uvipendavyo katika runinga ya Lookup TV. Maelekezo ili ukaweze kuwa mshindi ni rahisi sana. Kwa simu yako ya mkononi, ingia kwenye M-Pesa. Elekea kwa Paybill, weka nambari 636395. Kwa account name andika neno Look. Kisha kwa amount, uweka shilingi 99 au 99 shillings. Kwa M-Pesa Paybill, uweka nambari 636395. Account name andika Look. Amount, uweka shilingi 99 au 99 bob peke yake. Kumbuka, unavyocheza mara nyingi ndivyo unavyoongeza nafasi zako za kuwa mshindi. Unasubiri nini? Badilisha maisha yako leo na kuachua chapa. Mchezo huu umeidhinishwa na BCLB na ambao hawajafikisha miaka 18 hawajaruhusiwa kucheza. Cheza kwa kuwajibika.
Get a chance to wake up as a tourist as you view Mount Kenya every day by buying a plot of land at Wema Gardens, Naru Moru. At only 400 meters off tarmac, this is the right place to build your dream home, cottages or holiday homes. You can also buy this property to give to your children as a special inheritance. Water and electricity are in the vicinity, while neighbors are already building their homes. These plots are specially ready for you with title deeds scheduled to be out in 6 months. Buy a 50 by 100 plot of land at Wema Gardens for only 399,000 Kenya shillings. You can also pay for your plot through our friendly one-year installments plan.
They're inspiring possibility.
Hi there, good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're watching us from. My name is Maki Wambogo, Sales Manager, Optiven Real Estate, and I'm here at our head office, Absa Towers, located at Reuters Street. Today, I'm here to talk about our newest project, that is Great Oasis Gardens, Nanyuki, and it is located only 10 minutes drive from Cedar Mall. And in this project, we have proposed that we will be having a GMC Entertainment Center. This will be a replica of what we have in Kitengela, GMC Kitengela. We are also proposing a police post, so you are assured that security, once you invest here, security is good. And we are also proposing to have a playing ground. We are also going to have a community ground. So once you invest here, you don't have to worry about the security. The other things, among the things that we are doing, or the things that we have done already in Great Oasis Gardens, we have already done the marking fence, and the roads, the internal roads are already happening. We have started the maraming the road, and we are still in the process of doing the maraming of the internal roads. And we are also sinking a borehole so that we ensure that our investors in Great Oasis Gardens, Nanyuki, will not struggle with water. We are also going to elevate a water tower so that we have a constant supply of water in this project. And we also have a caretaker on site. The caretaker is on site and he's there 24/7. And then we also have different sizes in this project. We are having 8, we are having quarters, we are having halves, and we are also having acres. One can buy in bulk, you can buy in big chunks, and that is why we are saying in Great Oasis Gardens Nanyuki, we are saying that bigger is better. In this project, what you can invest in, you can invest in private schools, you can also do holiday homes, whereby you can do Airbnb, you can also do holiday homes and then you start renting, and you can also build houses and sell. You can also do apartments in this area, you can also do supermarkets, you can also build a mall and then you start renting. There is so much that you can do in this project because it is not controlled development. We are also located along Nanyuki Rumuruti Road, and this road is being proposed to be tarmacked by the government. So coming from Nanyuki or coming from wherever you be coming from, it will be very easy to access the project because it is touching the Nanyuki Rumuruti Road, which is going to be tarmacked by the government. My number is +254 722 355 107. Do not be left behind. Call that number. I will work with you. If you're in Kenya, give me a call. We go for the site visit. We select the project. We start the payment. If you're in diaspora, send a representative, and I will be delighted to work with you. And as we say here in Optiven, we shine because you make us shine. God bless you. Thank you.
Welcome back to the second part of our program tonight. After we led up with the news, today has been a very important day for this country. It's about your vote. Maybe, slowly by slowly, we're heading towards a time when you will be able to vote and the result ends there. This was taken out of the voters' hands and it went legal, and we saw what the ruling was today. In studio, I'm joined by two gentlemen who have quite insight on this kind of situation. Dr. John Habinu, the senior counsel, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
And of course, Dudley Otieno, who's an advocate of the High Court. Right, today has been different for many people. Celebration, vindication, validation. What was the day to you, Dr. Habinu?
Well, I was in my office most of the time, interviewing clients, holding meetings, reading some legal authorities, and of course at the same time I was keeping in touch with what was going on in the Supreme Court.
Mm-hmm. What about you?
Spent most of it in court because I was representing a friend of the court, the International Commission of Jurists.
So you actually had money?
Yeah.
What's the first thing you observed when you went there today?
Well, there was a bit of excitement from everyone. When the judges walked in, I mean, the mood was good, like a big moment. Something great was about to happen. Yeah.
Well, indeed. Expectations, Dr. Habinu. What was this supposed to mean for you? In your interpretation, what is your take home from what was done today in the court?
Louis, I expected a judgment or a ruling from the court based broadly, not merely being very technical. The Supreme Court has a very big responsibility. Apart from paying attention to the technical rules of law, it is really part of our governance. And one expects it to address some of the issues that are facing the nation. That's what I expected to get from the Supreme Court.
Was it different from your expectation?
Yes. I thought that the Supreme Court was technical. There are some issues that face us as a nation, particularly when we have elections or general elections. There are issues that need to be addressed, and the right body to address them, in my view, really is the Supreme Court. For instance, you may remember, Louis, a number of allegations were made about foreigners interfering with the process. You may also remember 1 or 2 people died. Someone by the name of, I think, Daniel Musyoka died. There's one chap whose leg was amputated. This was violence used, I would say, by criminals. And these were probably innocent people carrying out state duties. And yet they suffered bodily harm. One would have expected the Supreme Court to address the issue. And this is not something that happens only this time. It has been happening quite frequently. If you can recall, if you go back right from the time of Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, we have always had violence whenever we have elections. And I thought the Supreme Court this time would address the issue, at least make some remarks about this violence. And what the Supreme Court says is taken seriously by the community. And if you read the judgment, there isn't really a comment on this violence at all. They have confined themselves just merely to the technical rules of law, or technical rules of evidence, the technical rules that are embodied in the Constitution, and that is all, which I think, in my view, is unfortunate. Would you encourage young people leaving school or leaving university to take up a job quickly with the IBC when they are likely to suffer considerable bodily harm? You may remember Musando, the circumstances under which he died. We have never been told what really happened. I may be wrong. If I'm wrong, you can correct me. Has anyone been arrested and charged?
To the best of my knowledge.
The best of my
knows something
knowledge,
else.
nobody has. Then you have this case of Daniel Musyoka. I think he's the one who was in charge of Mbakasi polling station. He was a returning officer. And his body, I think, was found at Oltoktok. We have not been told anything about it. Then there was another person, I think, whose leg was amputated. Now, these are serious matters, serious issues that I think the Supreme Court should be able to make some comments on this kind of violence.
All right. You were there. I'm not going to ask if your side won or lost, but just in terms of overall delivery, did this go according to what you expected?
As amicus, we had tried to assist the court on some aspects. The first is the issue of rejected votes. Because when you go out to the station and you say, no, I don't like any of these guys, and you return your paper blank, or you indicate none of the above on your ballot paper, which happened, it's practical, it's not hypothetical, then your vote is treated as if, like the same, as if you didn't wake up out of bed and go to the polling station. So telling the court that that vote must have a weight because there's a right to protest. You have the right to cast a protesting vote. You do not have to be confined to the candidates on the ballot. For example, someone like Kigame, if his supporters went out to vote and because Kigame had been blocked from running, and then they cast a protesting vote, they return the ballot blank, or they indicate none of the above, then that choice should count. Now it's not given any weight. Yet under the Constitution, the IBC must count every vote that is cast into the ballot box. And these are not spoiled votes because spoils do not get into the ballot box, they are replaced. But every vote that goes into the ballot box should count. I think I had the court say that it disagrees with the LSK on that. That was the LSK brief. Then there was the ICJ brief, which I represented. ICJ asked the court to set principles around the use of technology because we've had it since 2013 and every time there's been an issue about technology. 2013 there was a complete failure of the KIMS kit. 2017 there was a failure by the IBC to transmit the results using electronically. Then this year there were questions about hacking. You had Jose Camargo's name ending up on the portal and his name is in a DCI report. Issues about hacking, and then there was also the question of IBC refusing to give access to the server, creating a copy of the server, and then denying access to the 8 other servers. And I think when the issue was brought to court, we saw the court trying to say, okay, no, we're being told things are okay. I think there are issues there, and we'll have to wait in the full judgment to see what the court says about technology.
Make me understand this. You're saying it's legal? You can go and issue or give a protest vote. Exactly how would an ordinary Kenyan know what to do? This is the ballot paper. Why would somebody wake up, as you say, early in the morning, and then go and fold the same paper, put it in the box, or right there, none of the above? How does that work?
Well, the right to vote includes the freedom to express your will freely. You're not told to express it in any direction. You can choose to say, I do not want any of these candidates, they have nothing I want.
Why wouldn't you just stay home?
Well, but you have the right to vote, and you could turn up to vote for the other positions as well. And when you turn up, you're given 6 ballot papers, and you must use all of them. Or you can deliberately say, I'm going to vote down this candidate. So you vote for a third candidate, or you protest.
But
you cast a protesting
anyway.
vote. Yes.
I'm just trying to understand this in looking at the legal aspect.
Yeah.
You're saying there's provision for that. But when we look at the actuality, what education do Kenyans have, your typical voter in your village, that this is how to issue a protest?
Well, I think that's why amicus came in to help the court to develop the law, because this is not just about this election. We've had election petitions, and every time we get decisions that help us to progress our democracy. And I hope that the court finds space to express itself on the need for us to relook at that issue.
Did they say a word to you on that issue?
They said they don't agree with the LSK on the question of rejected votes applying, but I'm saying that there's need to look at it again, because if someone wakes up and goes to the polling station, queues, and then casts a ballot, whichever decision they make, they could say none of the above, they could make it blank. It's not the same as someone who was home. They can't be given the same weight.
You need a lot of education on that. Dr. Amino, what for you also stuck out? What are the kind of things you would have wanted observed, apart from what you've mentioned, the adverse cases of violence? But in terms of the process, what stood out for you that either needs changing or tweaking?
There is a lot that requires really changing. You may have noticed that a lot of our young people did not really participate in this election at all. They were, in my view, sending a clear message that we were unhappy with what is going on. I suppose next time we have elections, we need to address this issue. Why are our young people not participating in the elections as much as we would like? There's one country I was reading about, I think, which is going to make it mandatory. In other words, if you don't vote at the time of voting, you would be committing a criminal offense. I don't think we should go that way. What we need to do is really to try to find out really what is the problem. Why is it that our young people have lost confidence in the whole idea of voting? They must be having some reasons. It's quite possible that they have probably found that whatever views they have, nobody's prepared to listen to them. So we should begin probably to find out this problem. These should be started as soon as possible by the new people who will be heading the IBC to find out why a lot of our young people are not participating. But if I may take you back to the Supreme Court, I expected the Supreme Court, for instance, to come up with some dissenting judgments. A dissenting judgment is good, is that it tries to develop jurisprudence, it tries to show you the other side of the coin and so on. There was no dissenting judgment at all. Normally on matters of this kind, there is a dissenting judgment, or one or two judges may dissent.
Unanimous.
Yes, last time Raila brought a petition before the court. There were two dissenting judgments. I think one was by Justice Ojwang, and another one was by Justice Joki. But this time there was no dissenting judgment at all. Everyone seems to have thought that what was going on.
That's not a good sign for you.
Yeah, it's not a very good sign at all. I think that for the sake of developing jurisprudence, we should have some dissenting judgments And when everybody's agreeing, then you have gossip or rumor behind that probably something went wrong, and all judges were told that they must deliver a unanimous judgment, and that's not very good for us at all. I think the court should have come up with some dissenting judgments. I think that was quite unfortunate. Yeah.
Was this your expectation, Dudley?
Of a unanimous decision?
Yes. How did you see that?
Expected it because of what happened in 2017. You know, the revisiting issue. I think that's also what the DCJ was talking about when she said that some of you tried to call us, but we couldn't pick your calls. She must have been saying that after we made our decision in 2017 and there were reprisals, no one spoke up for the court. So that when you now need the court to speak up for you, it's weakened or it's afraid or something of the sort. So I expected that they would either dismiss entirely or allow entirely.
With one accord?
Yes.
What does that say for the growth of the process?
Well, I think it keeps away from us the second perspective. It tells us a single story, which we've been told is dangerous, the dangers of a single story. Because the issues like technology, the court is saying that everything was okay, was perfect, and from the registrar's report, there are gaps in it. The court team that was sent there did not include an ICT expert. In 2017, there was a court-appointed expert. I just saw judicial staff, people we know, without any kind of expertise in technology. So there were weaknesses in there. And you expect the dissenting judgment to address that aspect. It helps to develop the law as it goes forward. It doesn't carry the day now, but it's really good for the future.
So you're looking ahead. Yes. Let's talk about some of those situations where the result that came in and then the verdict that came in talked of sensation, and they talked of lack of sufficient evidence. Did you see the same?
Yes, I saw the same. Yeah, they talked about lack of sufficient evidence. This again, Louis, I may comment on it. I'm not very sure that our judges are people who actually live in this country. They were born and brought up in this country. They received education in this country. And some of the things they hear or some of the shortcomings we have in our society, they know them. So that when someone says, look, there's been corruption, they should understand that it's possible that there may be merit in what someone is saying, that there has been corruption, or someone tried to hand money to so and so. And I don't see why they should not be able to read things between lines, to be able to draw up what we call inferences, and be able to come and form some conclusions that, look, this is possible that this may have happened, and so on. And if necessary, probably ask someone to put in a further affidavit to clarify a point. This could be done here. But I'm not very sure that one should remain so technical when we know some of the serious problems or some of the serious issues we have as a country, and which people are complaining of.
You're looking at the next vote, and these are some of the things you're trying to have included. One of the things that has come up, first of all, is a lot in terms of voter education, civic education, that is not yet in place just for the voter to understand their rights and the need for them to vote. Now you're bringing in other legal aspects. How will you sell this? How will you pitch this to the voter?
After every election, IBC does what it calls the post-election evaluation report. It assesses itself and looks at its own mistakes. We hope that it will do that and engage stakeholders, because I was just going through a bit of social media comments and seeing so many people saying that I'm not going to vote again. Remember, IBC came into this election with questions mark over it because of what it had done during the 2017 election, which the Supreme Court nullified. Then the repeat was a no contest, someone pulled out. And the DCJ said today, I think, that about 6 million voters would be unhappy. So there are issues that we can look at to help us improve the system of our elections. But just going back again to something the court said, I think I found it shocking, the kind of language that the court employed. It wasn't necessary. Things like...
Case in point?
Yeah. saying this is a wild goose chase. I mean, this one, I mean, the language was so strong. And in this kind of case where, you know, it's a political case, high stakes, and then you take 2 or 3 individual deponents or petitioners or advocates and you put them on the spot and you shine the spotlight on them in that kind of way, it was a bit reckless of the court.
Dr. Amir, did you see this kind of profiling in the language that the judges used?
No, the language is objectionable. Let us not forget that the court has also got a role that it must play. Let us not forget what happened in 2007. You remember we had a lot of violence. And one of the reasons why probably we had violence in 2007 was that people had lost confidence in the court. It is good that the court itself should be civil, courteous in the way it expresses itself. Or if I may refer to the retired Chief Justice Mutunga, one of the good things, for instance, he brought about in the court practices, the way to do things is to be courteous, to be civil to those who come to the courts, who are served and so on. I think the language has to be also civil and courteous, so that they convince the wider public that, look, the court is concerned about the issue, it is addressing the issue properly and so on. But if you use words in like wild goose and so on, then those who are losing the case begin to think that, look, we have not been heard fairly, we have not been treated fairly. And I think that is bad for the entire community.
Can you mention for me, because this is about 2010, this is where this journey started. Just a brief marker. Do you see from 2020 there's growth in democratic space with what we are seeing now? We do hope for a time when we can vote and it ends there.
Okay, I think I heard someone say that this would be the last election petition. Maybe the court has made it too difficult to prove electoral violations. It seemed like it rolled back on all the gains we had in 2017. In that kind of open hostility by the court, both during the proceedings, the kind of approach the court took to scrutiny, being hostile. I mean, a party is trying to say, you know, there's something going wrong at the back end, we're not getting access.
Essentially very unhappy.
Yes,
with
but
that
the court
bench.
was like, no, we're being told things are okay. I mean, the court, it seemed to say as if we are not welcome here, and I think that makes it difficult to question. And however, we've made steps forward. The kind of peace we have now, harmony, businesses going on as usual, is because people have confidence, or people had confidence in the Supreme Court. That's why I say that the court, it was reckless for the court to use that kind of language in this kind of contest. It makes it has a chilling effect. It can produce a chilling effect. So that in the next electoral cycle, a loser would not want to subject themselves to that kind of ridicule and shame before the public in court.
Right. Looking forward now, Dr. Amin, what would you tell Kenyans to now look forward or start investigating, or what it is we should look out for now?
Look, the whole area is very complex in my view. There's one problem, for instance, which we have to address. There is need really to see that we improve our economic growth in the country so that people have got some money in their pockets. Now, an individual has got some money in his pocket. If you go to him and say, look, I want you to vote for me, I'm giving you 100 shillings or 200 shillings. He'll say, to hell with you. I'm not interested in your 200 shillings. I'm not interested in 100 shillings. But when you have people who are hungry, they don't have any money, they have no food, they can't buy sukuma wiki, or they can't buy maziwa lala, they are prone to be corrupted by those who have got money. And in most cases, people who are vying for seats are the ones who are supposed to have money. So one thing that we may probably have to address very much, and one hopes that the new government will do that, is to make sure that we improve the economic growth of the country. People have got some money in their pockets, so that when the election comes up, they are not really in a begging kind of position where someone is giving some little money here and there and so on. Yeah, without mentioning anybody's name, I have seen a long queue of people, and you know, a very long queue of people, and I ask someone, what's wrong? What are these people waiting for?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm told, look, they are waiting for handouts so that they can vote for so and so. Now that kind of thing is most, you know, unfortunate. We need to see that we improve our economy so that people have got some money in their pockets, and people who have got money in their pockets are prone to be independent when it comes to voting. But the people who are poor, who are poverty-stricken, cannot be independent really when it comes to voting. They want some 5 shillings from so-and-so, 10 shillings from so-and-so, and you know, so that to vote for so-and-so. And that's not really democracy. In order to make our democracy very, very excitable and to have growth of our democracy, let us see whether we can improve the economic growth so that the ordinary people have got some little money in their pockets. Yeah, I know of one country, if you ask someone, you give him some 5 shillings or 10 shillings or 100 shillings, he will ask you that, look, why are you giving me this money? You
so
understand
that should end.
Yeah, but in Kenya, we have that
remark
problem.
for you in closing?
I think let's wait for the full judgment and interrogate it and see what's in it. The reforms that we need to make, let's make them in sufficient time so that we are ready for the next elections when it comes in 2027, and hope that Kenya gets better.
Let me comment on something else.
Yes.
There is a new generation of Kenyans, young people, who have absolutely no idea of how or what steps, what sacrifices people made for us to be where we are at the moment. They have absolutely no idea. Many people made sacrifices for democracy. Some died in very suspicious circumstances. Some were imprisoned. Some were detained. And these people are the ones who have made tremendous contribution.
Can we tell their story?
To the kind of democracy we have at the moment. But the new young people we have absolutely no idea that these people made tremendous sacrifices.
That's a challenge we have to take up.
The kind of, in brief, what I'm trying to say to you, Kenya is not what we now, has not been what we now see it to be. When we got independence in the early 60s, some of the things that were are happening now would not have happened at that particular time. And some people made considerable sacrifices. They were thrown into prisons. A person like Raila was in detention for 7 years.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
that's a challenge.
Yeah.
You have to take that up.
What I'm saying.
And you have to take that up.
Yeah.
I need to invite
was
you
in
again
detention for
to
7
walk me
years.
through that,
And
because
what I'm
now
so
I've
on.
run out of time.
Now, when he tells someone that I was detained, someone thinks that probably he was detained because he was a criminal. But it wasn't that he was a criminal at all. So there is need for people to know their history of the country. And the young crop of people we have at the moment have absolutely no idea about the history of this country at all.
We'll take that.
It may be a good idea that history probably should be made compulsory in schools. Contemporary history should be made compulsory in schools so that people know precisely what Kenya has gone through to reach where it is at the moment.
All right. I'll stop with that. We need to continue with that conversation. I know it's a long one.
Yeah.
I ran out of time tonight. And you too, the things you're proposing going forward, you need a lot of education on that. Thank you for watching. Obviously, the discussion cannot end here, but it is a time when we now have all indicators. We need to move forward. Thank you for watching. Have a good night.
Raundi hii Loto iko ground kuimarisha maisha na zawadi chungu nzima. Kuwa miongoni mwa washindi na uimarike leo. Shinda nusu milioni guaranteed daily, cash vouchers, unga wa kila siku na zawadi